so that when we go to the workshop, then we are not strangers. We are so privileged to have his son. Hopefully, he will be part and parcel of the University of Nairobi in one form or the other. So we receive you very warmly.
Thank you.
To the university. Patrick.
Well, Deputy Vice Chancellor, it is again an honor of being back. Obviously, I was here last December, and I think we have now developed a very robust work program, also under the leadership of the Executive Director, of what we should do as the WMI, the university, and the Global Center on Adaptation. I think today's convening and forum is testament to the momentum which we are building. And as we just discussed when we walked up, I think there is an extraordinary opportunity this year to really build something very robust at the highest level. Later this afternoon I will meet with President Ruto because he is convening an Africa Climate Summit later in the year together with the Global Center on Adaptation. And when I met with the President last week, when we both were in Senegal, I suggested to him, I said, Mr. President, we're both alumni from the same university. Should we not do this together with the university? So he was very receptive to that notion. I discussed it yesterday also with the CS. So this afternoon I would want to materialize that, which also means that in 2023 I will come back to Nairobi to support the president, support the government, particularly also to work with the university very actively. As we said last Sunday, upon my arrival, we went to Machakos, and you know that well, obviously. And when we arrived, I have to say, a person from the Netherlands, where our challenge is too much water, is to go back to the field and then experience the very harsh conditions in the field. So what I hope out of our collaboration in the coming years is to translate convenings such as today, what will happen later in the year at the political level, translate it into robust academic work, but also into concrete action on the ground. I think that sort of nexus is vital. I think the Wangari Maathai Institute and the University of Nairobi are, quite frankly, global institutions of which are well recognized. But I think now is also the time to translate that science for policy, for action in the coming period. And I'm very humble being part of this journey. Maybe a final word. Indeed, I brought my son to Africa for the first time. Nicholas is doing his thesis now, has finalized his thesis, and it was on Kenya. And not just on Kenya, it was on the implications of the conflict in Ukraine and the drought, the climate emergency on the livelihood in Kenya. So he's finalized his thesis, is presenting that on Friday, but he said, well, you cannot present without being in Kenya and seeing yourself firsthand this part. I also have Tom with me, Tom Willie, of course, my principal private secretary, and as chief of staff, actually he runs the organization. So I'm delighted also that Tom is with us. Charles, obviously you will introduce yourself briefly. It's very important that Charles is here, because Charles is the Africa director of GCA. You know, we have this largest adaptation program, not just for Kenya or Africa, but for the world, the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, which is overseen by Charles. And Olu is the global lead on food security. I mean, vitally, we have a large program on food security. And again, all these activities which we have with GCA and the resources which we have, I'm very keen to see, okay, we have this resource, we have that work program, how can we link it to the university? What can you do? What can we do? And I think we now have a very robust partnership with concrete deliverables in the coming period. And what Deputy Vice Chancellor, what will be very important, I think, that very regularly, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, we have discussions at the strategic level. Where are we? Where are we in terms of implementation? What goes right? What needs to be adjusted to keep this sort of partnership very strong and robust as it is today?
It's very interesting. I was just talking to Dr. Wekesa when we were coming, I just came from giving a workshop, a validation workshop, because I'm developing a gender policy analysis tool for climate smart agriculture, because I'm a professor of horticulture. So it was interesting that now we talk about digital, and I think one of my PhDs was also look at ICT and climate information and livelihoods in Kitwe. So we very interesting synergies, and I said, wow, what are they?
And once these PhDs graduate and finalize, we would love to absorb them in our organization as well. I mean, I think there is a pathway now forward.
Excellent. So we have John Orindi, who is our Director of Corporate Affairs. We also have Anne Maria, who is the registrar in my office. He will also be supporting the team.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then we have Professor Mudama, who is also with the Wangari Maathai Institute.
Excellent.
Is there anybody else we have left out?